Good evening and welcome to the Parent Impact. I'm your host, Tafshier Cosby, and this is presented to you by the National Parents Union. Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us tonight. And tonight is special. It is election day. Woohoo! So excited for this day. So many culmination hours, so many people out hitting the pavement, pounding the pavement, getting out the vote, so many text messages, so many phone calls, really just making sure that everyone is engaged, has information, is casting that ballot, however that ballot is being cast in your city and state, if it's vote by mail, if it's in person, if it's putting it in a ballot box. We are just so super excited that today is finally election day. We know we're not going to get, results tonight. I know there's a lot of anxiety that's been happening across the country for people. I myself have been experiencing some anxiety. I've been going out, I've been doing journaling, I've been meditating, and really just trying to center myself on the impact that this election is really going to have on our whole country. I'm just excited that everyone is excited about voting, that people are being, we have the first time voters out here voting. I'm very excited for those young people, 18, just turning 18, being able to cast their first ballot in this election. Older Americans are out here casting their ballots and their votes. And we don't have a guest tonight because we wanted to make sure that everyone would be out there casting their ballots, or at least making sure that other people are. So we've seen around the city of Newark, we've seen lots of voting places where some of them had some lines this morning. People waited in line, right? It wasn't, people weren't upset that they had to wait in line because they were absolutely wanting to make sure that they are casting those ballots. And we're just so excited. Thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie, so much. We appreciate that. Yes, every family votes. We're so excited to be part of the National Parents Union and part of our campaign. Every family votes, to make sure that every family is having those conversations around the dinner table, that folks are going out on the ground, that they're registering voters, that they're actually casting ballots, that they're really spreading the message. And this is not a one-time event, right? We know that a lot of focus is always on the federal elections, the presidential election, but we want to continue to build this muscle, right? Build this voting muscle that we have across the country, not just for our federal elections, for our local elections. We have lots of different elections coming up next year, right? For the state of New Jersey, almost every single office is up for election, right? We have our state senators, our assembly people, our mayors, and almost every office is up for election. So we really need to take the same energy and focus and make sure that we're focusing on those local elections, those down ballots, your local people, your neighbors, your store owners, your entrepreneurs, your business owners in your community. Make sure that you are also focusing on those. But for tonight, we are going to focus on the national election. I wanted to do kind of an election day check-in. I'm so excited. My energy is so high today, really thinking about, how monumental this is. If we have anybody who wants to put a question in the chat, or tell us how you're feeling right now, or what you've been doing today, how you've been talking to your neighbors, how you've been maybe taking people to the polls, or knocking on doors, or making phone calls, or text messaging people. Let's have, some interactive dialogue about what you've been doing today on this election day. Even if, you stayed home. I know a lot of places in New Jersey, schools were closed, a lot of businesses were closed. There's also a larger push in New Jersey to have more businesses closed on election day, to allow employees to be able to actually go out there and cast that ballot, help out at the polls, be poll workers, drive people to the polls, donate food to some of the poll workers. It's just really been a fantastic day. Hey, Jazz. Hey, Jazz. I know you did your part. I saw you earlier. Hey, good to see you. And Jazz had a fantastic Halloween event over the weekend. I took my granddaughter, and she was so excited to see everybody, all the costumes. She was so excited about a character named Marshall. I don't know who that is, but she was so excited, and it was like the best person ever. He looks like McGruff, the crime dog, but his name is Marshall. She was so excited to see a dinosaur. It was just a fantastic event. So thank you, Jazz. And yes, there's still time to vote. There is still time to vote. In New Jersey, you can vote until 8 p.m. It is 6 p.m. in New Jersey. You can drop it in your ballot box, your local ballot boxes. You can go to your local area, your local voting place. You can go to your local Board of Elections office. There's still time to vote. You still have 2 hours to be able to cast that ballot in New Jersey. So if you have not yet, please knock on your neighbors' doors. Make sure that they have gone out and cast that ballot. I actually took my sister-in-law today. She wanted to vote in person, right? She hasn't voted in a while, but she wanted to vote in person. She wanted to do her provisionary ballot. So she did her ballot. We went. She was excited to do it. It was safe. She had a mask on. We both had our mask on. We made sure that everybody was safe and that no one is getting infected from being able to cast their ballot. But it's just been a very exciting day. I can just feel the exciting energy that's just happening across the city, across the state, just across our nation, right? The energy has just been so electric. It's just been so amazing seeing everybody do the push, seeing everybody with their I voted buttons. Although I do miss those for myself, right? Because I did vote by mail this year. So I do miss having a little button, that says I voted. Normally I'll take a picture at the voting booth, let people know that I voted, but I cast my ballot early this year, which I was very excited about it. All of my family members have cast their ballots, and we wanted to make sure that we are taking part in this electoral process and that we are doing our part to make sure that our family members and our friends are really getting out the vote. So again, this is election day. I don't have a guest today. It's just me and my excitement and my energy talking about voting, talking about why it's important to vote, talking about our Every Family Votes campaign. Again, this is an ongoing campaign. This is going to be, you're going to hear this a lot from us. You're going to continue to hear this from us. We're going to have opportunities for people to be on the ground, helping other people learn how to vote, helping people to register to vote, downloading our downloadable toolkit, which gives you all that information about being able to vote, learn how to organize other people to vote, learn how to use your voice. And more than anything else, I want from people from this particular election to take from it information and knowledge, right? I think people should get themselves more educated on what voting is, right? Like what it means to vote in your federal election, what it means to vote in your local election, even things like writing policies, learning how to write policies, learning about policies that affect you, that affect your community, your local policies that are being written, your state laws that are being written, right? Get more involved, get more civically involved in your community, right? Don't just make this the election that you're excited about, and then the rest of the year, you see your ballot come in the mail, and you're like, my vote really doesn't matter. Make sure that you are staying engaged in the voting process. Stay completely engaged. Educate yourself. Talk to other people. I actually saw an article yesterday that talked about how to talk to your family members at the dinner table about voting, right? We know Thanksgiving is coming up. We know we're still social distance, but I don't know if anybody's getting together with their family for Thanksgiving. This presidential election will be over, but there are future elections to be had. So please have those conversations, right? The article talked about really how to have those conversations. Sometimes, those conversations can be a little heated depending on which side your family falls on, right? Are they Republican? Are they Democratic? Are they Green Party? Are they independent? Do they just feel like voting doesn't matter? But I think those conversations are really important because you can really get information from each other. You can get to the bottom of why people feel the way they do about voting. You can share information. You can share resources for voting. And you can really make sure that you're really having a real conversation about what voting means, what it means to your country, what it means to your state, what it means to your city. You're talking about the people who are actually running for office, right? You're discussing their platforms. What is their plan for your city? What is their plan for your state? What are they going to do as it pertains to things that are in your wheelhouse, right? Things that are important to you. Get to know some of these people, right? See them out in the community. join some of their virtual meetings that they're having, right? Our state Board of Education, their meeting is actually tomorrow, right? It's at 10 o'clock. It's online. It's virtual. You can join it. Our state legislator for New Jersey, they have a meeting in November. You can go on www.nj.ledge to get that information. Join into the conversation. Get yourself educated. Get information about voting and why it's important. So many people, have said previously, voting is not important. My vote doesn't matter. It's the electoral college that decides and things like that. And while that may be somewhat true for the presidential election, right? It's not true for local elections. It's not true for your council person, right? If your council person loses by one vote, then that's it. They've lost. The other person has won. If your state senator loses by 50 votes, that person has lost. That's it. There is no electoral college that's going to decide. It's the people themselves who are going to decide. Also, New Jersey, if you have not cast your ballot yet, please turn it on the back. There are some questions that need to be answered on the back. There are some referendum questions that need to be answered that you really have to pay attention to. For the ballot itself, if you didn't open it all the way up, then you would not have seen the bottom line where it showed that there were actual questions on the back. Please make sure you answer those questions. Those questions are just as important as casting that ballot. They are going to set the tone for our state when it comes to whether we are going to legalize marijuana in our state. Important caveat to that, not decriminalize it, but legalize it, whether we're going to give tax breaks to veterans, and also whether we are going to redistrict our towns before we get the US Census information. Now, this is a very, very important referendum question, right? For the next 2 years, if this question passes through, for the next 2 years, our redistricting is going to stay exactly the same. We're going to have the exact same lawmakers, no matter how many people live in that community based on the US Census information. We're not going to receive the funding that we need to receive based on the US Census information. So it's really important that we pay attention to these referendum questions that are on there, because they're really going to set the tone for how we move forward in our cities and how we move forward in our state, and any kind of aid and assistance that comes to a lot of our communities. So make sure that you are educating yourself. Make sure that you are having conversations with your family. And something new this year that we got very excited about from Essex County. I live in Essex County in New Jersey. We actually got a thank you for voting mailer, which I thought was really, really fun. I don't think I've ever gotten one of these before. I was so excited to receive it in the mail. I was like, wow, like they received my vote and they're thanking me. And I just really appreciate the second step that they went to actually be able to send us these to let us know that they received our ballot, they counted our ballot, and that they are happy to receive it. So I'm very happy to have received that in the mail. So I don't know about anybody else in New Jersey, if you receive one or not. I'm excited for it. So if anybody wants to jump in the comments, let's talk about what you've been doing all day on election day. Let's talk about how you're feeling. What are you doing to quell your anxiety? Have you been helping people? Have you been driving people to the polls? Have you been knocking on your neighbors' doors? I know for the last couple of days, we've been doing a lot of phone banking. We've been calling lots of families, making sure that they cast their ballots, making sure that they know where to send their ballots, making sure that they know where their voting location is. We didn't have the full range of voting locations this year. We just had a few places where people could actually go vote. Prudential Center was actually one of those places. It was actually the largest place where you could go and vote. And I heard it was fantastic. They had a lot of people come through. There were a lot of people who were just excited to be voting, to be excited to be down there amongst the people casting their ballot, young people, a couple of 18-year-olds, who were really excited and just like, yay, we're here. We are casting our ballots. So thank you, Kalina. Thank you so much, Kalina Berryman. Thank you. I'm excited. It's just me tonight. Normally I have a guest, but it's just me tonight. I'm just really excited about voting, and we're just here talking about it. Feeling scared and feeling anxious. Yes, Kalina. I don't think that you are alone in that anxiousness and anxiety that we're having. Right? We're not going to have our results tonight. So it's going to be a couple of days before we actually get the final vote, right? We're going to have a preliminary winner tonight, but it's going to be a couple of days, and I know that people are feeling anxious. We are feeling scared. It's a lot at stake, right? It's a lot at stake where we're thinking about the future of our country. We're thinking about the future of where we're going as a country, where we're going as a people. Will we continue to be divided after this? Right there's a lot of people who are having Facebook fights and just really having these large arguments about the different sides that they're choosing. But at the end of this, everyone, we still have to live together, right? We still have to live together in these cities. We still have to be in families together. So I think that there's a way that we can have this discourse and really talk about the side that we choose, essentially. But I think the bigger thing that we need to be talking about is how do we come together as a country, and how do we make sure that we are moving ourselves forward as a country, right? COVID is affecting all of us as a country. COVID is affecting the entire world. But as the United States, it's affecting all of us. It's affecting us in different ways. We know that some people are disproportionately affected by what's happening in COVID in some of our urban areas and in some of our cities. But we're all going through this together. And we need to have leadership, not just in our presidential, not just in our president, but in our states, in our counties, in our cities. We need to have leaders who really understand what we need and what our communities need and can really take action to make that happen, right? I think in Newark that our leadership has done a great job with taking action. I think our nonprofits and coalitions have done a fantastic job with coming together to make sure that people have food, to make sure that people have shelter, to make sure that we're doing a lot of social and emotional learning in a lot of different schools. The kids are learning online in a lot of our schools, but we're really coming together as a community to make sure that we are here for each other as a community. Because after the election is over, we'll still be here, right? The city of Newark will still be here all together, making sure that our families are good, making sure that everybody has what they need. So now is the time to make sure that we're thinking about plans on how we come together as a nation and as a community. A few things that I've done over the past couple of days to kind of help my anxiety for what I was feeling. I woke up yesterday morning and I literally was like pacing back and forth in my bedroom, and I was like, why? What is happening with me? But I just felt this energy. I just had to burn it off. I just had to burn off this energy. I've done a lot of journaling over the last week. I've done extra meditation this week. I've tried not to watch a lot of the news that has come on. That's something else that I suggest for people to try not to watch too much news. I know it's going to be hard tonight because we're going to be watching those counts come in, those rapid counts come in after 8 o'clock, and everybody's going to be like, what is New Jersey doing? What is Pennsylvania doing? What are some of our swing states doing? But turning off the TV, maybe taking time, read a book. I've been listening to a lot of music, a lot of soft jazz, something just to kind of like calm my nerves and keep me calm. And really, I've been doing a lot of planning, right? A lot of planning for the future, a lot of planning on how we move forward in our communities once this election is over, how we work with our local officials to make sure that we are getting what is promised to us, right? For our elected officials. It's for us as the community, it's about accountability, right? We want to make sure that we are holding our elected officials accountable to do the things that they say they are going to do with us. I was watching a show yesterday and they were talking about how do we keep our elected officials accountable, right? Like what are the ways that we can keep as a community that we can keep our elected officials accountable, how we can hold them accountable to make sure that they are doing the things that they promised that they will do. And one of those ways is to really make sure that you're educating yourself and your community about what it is that they do, right? A lot of times, even our council people in our city, they get asked to do things that would be something a state senator would actually have control over. So educate yourself on that position. Educate yourself on what it is that that person in that position actually does, what power they hold, and actually what they can do for your community, right? Educate yourself on policies and laws, right? There are lots of policies out there, lots of laws being written every day for our community. A lot of times, our input is not in there. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, but a lot of times our input is not in there. But educate yourself on what these policies look like, who's affected in these policies. Find out about budgets, right? Get in there, go attend budget hearings. Find out how much money is being spent on some of these things that are happening in our community. Is the money being spent properly, right? I'm a proponent of participatory budgeting, getting in there, having the community actually looking at the budget and helping out with where to spend the money, right? A lot of times, even within our schools and within our municipalities, a lot of money gets sent back. A lot of money is not being properly spent. We need to make sure as a community that we are really diving in to those conversations and making sure that our voices are part of those conversations, right? As parents, we also need to make sure that our voices are part of the conversations that we're having about our children's education. On Thursday night, we are having a town hall, National Parents Union, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Please sign up. I have the registration link going across the banner. And we're going to be talking about a survey that we've done across the country with parents. And some of those results of that survey are 50% of parents across the United States feel like they have not been engaged in conversations regarding reopening of their children's schools, right? 50% of parents who have children in school, school-aged children, are not being invited to these conversations when it comes to reopening their schools, or even conversations as to whether the school would be in hybrid, or if the school was going to open up full, or there was going to be some kind of online learning. Parents were not part of these conversations, and we need to make sure that we are part of these conversations that are happening regarding our children. These are our children. Make sure that you're part of that conversation. This is our city. These are our towns. Make sure you're part of that conversation. Make sure that you're educating yourself so you can have those conversations with your lawmakers, right? You can schedule those meetings to go and talk to your lawmakers. Lawmakers are also doing virtual meetings right now, right? You can join a meeting with a few of your community members and have that conversation with your local lawmaker. Hold them accountable for the things that they promised to do for your community. If we're not the ones having these conversations with them, if we're not holding them accountable for what they need to be doing and what they promised us, then we're not getting what we need in our communities. And a lot of times that creates like a sour taste for people, right? They're like, oh, I voted this person in and they're not doing what they said they were going to do. But are you holding them accountable? Have you said to them, I need you to do this thing that you said you were going to do for me, right? Also, for people who feel like they do have elected officials that aren't doing anything for them, then what do I always say to people? Then run for office, right? If you feel like that you can do a better job, if you feel like there's things that you want to see happen to your community, that you want to see go down, that you want to see changes that are being made in your community, run for office. Run for that district leader seat. Run for that school board seat. Run for that council person seat, like run to be a senator, like put yourself out there for your community, right? And hold yourself accountable what you get elected from your community. Hold yourself accountable, right? A few weeks ago, I had two councilwomen on. I had Councilwoman LaMonica McIver, who's the Central Ward Councilwoman. She's the best councilwoman. I'm biased because I'm the Central Ward. And I had Rashana Cosby from Linden, Councilwoman. They were also talking about they want to be held accountable as elected officials, right? And they don't see themselves as politicians. They see themselves as public servants. They are servants to the public. They are here to serve. They are here to make sure that the communities have what we need. They are here to listen. They are here to do things, to make it better, to bring funding, to make sure that our communities absolutely have what they need. So hold your elected officials accountable. These are just a few ways that you as a citizen can hold your elected officials accountable. Also, make sure that we are including young people in these conversations, right? Speaking of young people, this is my daughter. Hey, daughter, I'll see you later. She'll be over here later. Thank you. Make sure that you are including young people in these conversations, right? Include young people and start in middle school. Start having these conversations in middle school, right? I think that civics classes and courses need to be brought back in. I know for the city of Newark, we absolutely, for Newark Public Schools, they have a great civics curriculum that they are incorporating into the school and the middle schools to make sure that the kids are learning about civics, they're learning about discourse, they're learning about how to have conversations, they're learning about voting, they're learning about, even running for like their local school boards within their schools. They're making sure that they have positions on their state school boards. I don't know if anybody knows this in New Jersey, but there is a law that has just passed by the Assembly for every school district in the state of New Jersey, including charter schools, for a student representative to be on that board, right? The student representative does not have voting ability, but the student representative is the voice of your student community, right? They bring that voice to that conversation. We are in rooms making decisions for them, about them, but we are not including them in that conversation. So make sure that you are including your young people in these conversations. Make sure you are working with them to provide civic education. Make sure you are mentoring them. We have a lot of young people who want to be, in political office. They want to run for office someday, or they might even want to run for, their student body president or something like that. Thank you, Ebony, for tuning in. I appreciate that. But make sure that we are uplifting their voices and making sure we are listening to the things that they want to see happen in their schools, in their communities, because they're going to be our future, right? Speaking of my daughter, right, I talk to my kids and I tell them all the time, don't put me in a crappy nursing home. Make sure I'm someplace good where people are taking care of me, right? And I just want to make sure that we are including the voices of our young people in these conversations. We had a lot of young people come out and register to vote this year, a lot. The 18 to 25-year-old demographic was one of the demographics that we had a lot of registration forms for. But previous years, we've had them register to vote, but then they don't actually go out and cast a ballot. So we're trying to figure out what that disconnect is. And I think I just think it's information, right? I just think it's excitement. I just think it's that they're like, okay, I registered, but they don't really follow up with information about why casting that ballot is important. They don't get to know some of the lawmakers. They don't understand what the plans are for the community. I think from the time that they actually register in New Jersey at 17, you need to make sure that they have the information, and even start before they actually register, right? I know for my children, it was 17, it was birthday card, it's birthday cake, and voter registration form, right? It's all three of those things happen at the age of 17. So make sure that we're having these conversations with young people and introducing them to the voting process. It has to start early. You have to make it exciting. I know that voting, is not that exciting for some people. I know it's exciting for me. Anybody who knows me knows I'm always excited about voting. I'm always excited about talking about voting. I'm always excited to get out there and pound the pavement and talk to people and really get to the heart of what the community needs and how we need to make sure that the people we are electing into those office are people who understand our community needs and are people who are really going to do all that they can to make sure that in our communities, we have funding, we have resources, and we have everything that we need to be successful in our community. So if anybody else wants to chime in, thank you guys for watching. I'm so appreciative for everybody who's watching tonight. Like I said, normally I would have a guest on, but I wanted to make sure that, my guests that I would have invited are out knocking on doors, talking to folks, making sure that they are casting the ballot themselves, bringing people out, dropping off food to the election workers, driving people around, making sure that they are pounding the pavement, making sure that people in their community know about the election and make sure that they are spreading the information about voting. And we have the Every Family Votes campaign from the National Parents Union. It's an ongoing campaign. It's not going away once this election goes away, right? Once we get the results of this election, we are going to continue to have community conversations, have conversations with our delegates from the 50 states about the importance of voting, about making sure that you register. We're going to start having some trainings for some of our delegates. Make sure that you are really just spreading the message in your community and making sure that you're also getting that information yourself. For the National Parents Union, membership is also open. We are open. We are accepting new members right now. So all my New Jersey people, sign up to be a member. I'm the New Jersey delegate. I'm also on the 50 State Council. We are excited about all the new members that we have coming in. We're excited to be working with everyone and making sure that we are raising the voices of parents, raising the voices of parents across our nation, and just making sure that parents are part of every single conversation. I think I say this even when I have guests on. For me, when I think about the stakeholders in a school in particular, when you're thinking about stakeholders at the school, if you have 10 stakeholders who are part of the school community, I always think of parents as second, right? Parents are the second stakeholders in a school community. The first stakeholders are the children. The children are the ones who are actually receiving that education. So they would be the first stakeholders, and then the parents would be second, because the parents actually chose to send their children to these schools and they are focused on making sure that their children have the best educational experience and making sure that they are receiving the best education that they possibly can. So, of the 10 stakeholders that we're talking about, parents are second, right? Get your voices out there, parents. And working with the National Parents Union as a delegate, as a member, these are authentic parent voices, right? We're not people who haven't been through the things that we talk about, right? I've been a mom for almost 30 years now. I'm dating myself now. I've been a mom for 30 years, right? The things that I talk about, the things that I organize around, the conversations that I have with parents, these are things that I've actually been through in my life, right? I've taken advantage as a parent of all the types of schools that have been offered in my city, right? Because I understand that my children have different ways of learning. So I've taken advantage of private school. I've taken advantage of traditional public school. I've taken advantage of charter schools in my city. And because as a parent, I wanted to make sure that each child had that individual education to make sure that they would be successful in life. So again, these are authentic parent voices as part of the National Parents Union, right? We are working together across the nation, across the 50 states to build this authentic parent power. And we know that that's one thing that a lot of people do not want to see, right? They might be okay with us organizing together in a school or organizing together in a city, but really nationwide organizing, right? The difference between having 100 people show up to the state house for a rally or a campaign or something that's happening versus 1,000 people showing up, right? Having other delegates from the National Parents Union from across the country showing up to help you as a parent, to help your parent voice, to strengthen your parent voice, right? Writing national policies, right? Right now we're talking about education as a civil right, right, with the National Parents Union, right? That's our civil right as families and parents, to make sure that our children not just have a basic education, but that they receive a quality education. And it's one that they can actually use in their life to be successful. So these are all the things that, few of the things that we're working on at the National Parents Union. I urge everybody to join in with us, join into this authentic parent voice that we have across the nation, join into this large coalition of parents that we're building, right? We need everybody's voice in this conversation. I have my voice, right? I know that I do a lot of organizing with parents and work with a lot of parent groups, but parents have their own voices, right? I don't need to be the voice of every parent for New Jersey. I want parents for New Jersey to be able to make sure that they are using their own voices, that they are organizing together in their communities, that they are learning how to be an empowered parent, right? Learning how to go to Trenton and testify, learning how to go to their school and start a PTA or PTO, really getting involved in their children's education. I know now more than ever, we have parents from across the country, based on a survey we did a few months ago, parents are more engaged than ever in their children's education, right? Because now it's in the home. The education has been brought into the home. So really, as parents, we're hyper focused on like what's happening in the classroom, like what is our child learning? Where is our child not learning, right? Like are they engaged in remote learning? Are they not engaged? I spoke to a parent earlier. She called me. She wanted to put together a parent conversation surrounding teenagers, right? Teenagers are spending a lot of time online. So like that's a conversation that we need to be having as parents together as to how, how many parents I feel like this is a problem, how we can work together to make sure that we alleviate this problem, to make sure that our children are getting the best of what they need in this remote arena, and for me, Pandora's box is open for me now when it comes to remote learning, right? Like the Pandora's box is open now. So we can't go back to the way things were. We definitely have to think about reimagining education and what it looks like for our children moving forward. Now that we have remote learning, now that we know that we have these modules and things that kids can use, like what is this going to look like for our future? But parents, if your voices are not part of that conversation, then these decisions are going to be made without you. If you have older kids, if their voice is not part of this conversation, then these decisions are absolutely going to be made without you. So make sure that your voice is being heard in your community. Make sure that your voice is being heard today on election day with your vote. Your vote is your voice. That's your way of telling your elected officials, Yes, I believe in you. Yes, I'm going to hold you accountable. Yes, I believe in the plan that you have for our community. But make sure that you're using your voice in every single space that you have the opportunity to use it in, because your voice is powerful. As a parent, you are powerful. You are powerful beyond measure, and your children will absolutely be thankful and grateful that you raised your voice on their behalf to make sure that they are receiving the best education that they can, and that they have the best quality of life that they can. So that's it for me, guys. I figured I'll take a few minutes. We do an election day check-in. I'm excited to do this check-in with you guys today. Thank you for everybody who watched us tonight here on the National Parents Union, and also we're streaming this on the Parent Impact site, on our Facebook site at the Parent Impact. If you want more information about who we are, Parent Impact, you can hit us up at the Parent Impact. On our Facebook site, you can hit us up at www.theparentimpact.org. Also for the National Parents Union, again, November the 5th, that's Thursday of this week at 8 p.m. Town Hall. It's called the Parent Clap Back, right? It's authentic voices of parents. We have Arnie Duncan, who used to be the U.S. Department of Education Secretary. We have some amazing organizers, parent organizers and activists across the country who are really going to give you an authentic voice about what parents want to see happen in our communities, in our schools, and throughout our nation. So please make sure that you register and join us for that very, very important conversation. And thank you, everyone. Make sure that you have voted. Make sure that you are talking to your neighbors, knocking on doors, dropping people off. Do everything you need to do to make sure that everybody in your community is casting their all too important ballot tonight. And I will see everybody next week, Thursday, Tuesday night, 6 p.m. on the Parent Impact. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Thanks.